Withdraw from the herd, the strong don't follow. In the end, that's the only rule that separates the superior from the ordinary. Not talent, not luck, not intelligence. Just one thing, the refusal to walk where everyone else walks. You've felt it your entire life. That quiet distance between you and the crowd. You stand among them, but you don't move like them. Their conversations feel shallow. Their concerns feel small. Their excitement looks forced. Their confidence looks borrowed. You watch the herd chase the same distractions, repeat the same beliefs, worship the same illusions, and something inside you remains still, unmoved, unconvinced. There is a cold clarity in you that others don't have. While they rush, you observe. While they obey, you evaluate. While they cling to belonging, you stand apart, because you understand the cost of blending in. And for a moment, the world feels quiet. The herd survives by numbers. The strong survive by understanding. Most people fear thinking alone. You fear thinking like everyone else. They seek approval. You seek accuracy. They run from silence. You use silence as a weapon. This is why you cannot follow them. This is why you don't bend to their rhythm. This is why you feel detached, not broken, not lost, just above. You are not built for their noise. You are built for clarity. And clarity is cold. It requires stepping back, stepping away, stepping out. There is a point in every strong person's life where detachment becomes non-negotiable. The noise becomes insulting. The conformity becomes suffocating. The repetition becomes predictable. Strength isn't domination over others. Strength is domination over yourself, especially when the world tries to swallow you into sameness. Withdraw from the herd. The strong don't follow. That is where the real ascent begins. The herd follows one master, the will. Not personal willpower, not discipline, not conscious intention, the will. The force Schopenhauer called the blind engine of existence, the impulse beneath desire, the hunger beneath ambition, the instinct that keeps mankind restless and obedient. The herd obeys it without resistance. They want because everyone else wants. They chase because the noise tells them to chase. They fight for positions that mean nothing, for attention that evaporates, for validation that never lasts. Their lives are loops, predictable, mechanical. They believe they are free, but their freedom is nothing more than unconscious momentum. Schopenhauer said life oscillates between pain and boredom, and the herd spends its entire existence swinging between the two, mistaking motion for meaning. But you've seen the mechanism. You've seen how desire controls them. You've seen how society manipulates them. You've seen how fear keeps them aligned and identical. And for a moment, the world feels quiet, because awareness is cold. Awareness is surgical. Awareness slices through illusion and leaves only the structure beneath. And once you see the structure, obedience becomes impossible. You stop chasing what others chase. You stop kneeling before the same idols. You stop letting the will drag you through the same cycles. The strong do not follow because they recognize the trap. They see the strings. They feel the weight of imitation and reject it. Your detachment isn't a flaw. It's proof of sight, proof of discipline, proof that your mind refuses to kneel. Withdraw from the herd, because the herd is governed by impulses. Strength is governed by understanding. And the next realization strikes with merciless clarity. If everyone follows the will blindly, what does it make you when you refuse? That's where the transformation begins. Once you recognize the herd for what it is, something shifts inside you, something irreversible. You begin to see the contradictions in human behavior, the weakness hiding behind volume, the insecurity hiding behind confidence, the fear hiding behind morality. People speak of freedom, yet they cling to the opinions that enslave them. They demand respect, yet shape themselves to be liked. They chase status, yet follow trends like cattle. You watch them carefully, silently, from a distance. Their patterns are predictable. They imitate. They justify. They repeat. There is no real self underneath, only layers of borrowed identity. This is the fracture Schopenhauer described. The will, pulling them toward the same desires, the same illusions, the same suffering, while convincing them they are choosing it. And for a moment, the world feels quiet. You begin to notice how easily they are moved. A comment can redirect their mood. A trend can redirect their dreams. A fear can redirect their entire life. The herd runs from discomfort. You walk toward it. The herd needs approval. You operate without it. The herd builds masks. You destroy yours. This is where dominance begins. Not over others, but over your own impulses. You stop reacting. You stop absorbing. You stop letting noise enter your mind. Your silence becomes discipline. Your detachment becomes armor. Your solitude becomes a high ground they cannot climb. And slowly, you realize. You understand people more clearly when you stop needing anything from them. You see their motives without their words. You see their weaknesses without their admissions. You see the will moving them like pieces on a board. And once you see it, you can predict them. You can read them. You can rise above them. Conflict fades. Confusion disappears. Only clarity remains, but clarity always demands a price. And that's where the break begins. Consider a man, call him Elias, quiet, unassuming, detached. He lived his life surrounded by people who measured strength in noise. The louder they spoke, the more they believed themselves powerful. The more they belonged, the more they believed themselves important. But Elias saw through them. At work, he watched them scramble for attention from people they secretly despised. In relationships, he saw them change personalities to avoid being abandoned. In friendships, he watched them trade loyalty for convenience. They lived in a constant state of performance. He didn't judge them. He simply observed. And for a while, he tried to fit in, not out of desire, but out of habit. But every time he joined the crowd, he felt himself losing precision, clarity, discipline. Noise diluted him. Conformity softened him. Belonging weakened him. So one day, he stepped back, not out of anger, not out of pride, simply out of understanding. He stopped speaking unless necessary. He stopped explaining himself to anyone. He stopped seeking permission to think differently. People interpreted his silence as arrogance. They whispered that he had changed, that he had become cold, distant, unfriendly. But the truth was simpler. Elias had removed himself from the influence of people who were influenced by everything. And once he withdrew, something unexpected happened. He became sharper, calmer, more controlled, more disciplined. His decisions became decisive. His emotions became optional. His time became guarded. The same people who once tried to shape him began to respect him, not because he followed, but because he stopped following entirely. His solitude wasn't isolation. It was elevation. And for a moment, the world feels quiet. Elias didn't rise above the herd by fighting them. He rose above them by stepping away. The strong don't follow. because following is the fastest path to becoming someone you are not. And once you understand that, a new form of strength begins to take shape. Look at the modern world for a moment, not with emotion, but with precision. Everywhere you turn, the herd is louder than ever. People call it connection, but it's dependency. They call it self-expression, but it's imitation. They call it being informed, but it's mental pollution. You watch them scroll through their feeds like obedient consumers of distraction. They don't think. They react. They don't choose. They copy. They don't desire. They are instructed what to desire. Approval has become currency. Silence has become suspicious. Detachment has become rebellion, and for a moment, the world feels quiet. You see how relationships have turned into negotiations of insecurity. Two people trying to fill each other's emptiness while pretending they aren't empty. You see how ambition has become theater. Everyone running toward goals that don't belong to them. You see how self-worth is measured by the reaction of strangers. It's not malice. It's unconsciousness. The will demands movement, so they keep moving without direction. But you stand still. You don't chase validation because you know the cost. You don't join the noise because you know what it does to the mind. You don't confuse visibility with value. Modern life is a battlefield of attention. Most people lose before they even realize they're fighting. Your strength is simple. You refuse to be pulled. This is why your presence feels different. This is why people look at you longer than they should. This is why your silence carries more weight than their words. You do not radiate scarcity. You radiate control. And control is intimidating in a world addicted to chaos. Your detachment is not a weakness. It's a threat. Because in a society built on conformity, the man who thinks for himself becomes dangerous. Withdraw from the herd. The strong don't follow. And the deeper you see, the colder the truth becomes. But cold is clarity. There comes a moment, a quiet, internal shift, where everything you once tolerated becomes impossible to accept. Your patience for small talk dissolves. Your interest in shallow ambition fades. Your tolerance for emotional chaos disappears. What grows in their place is stillness. A stillness that feels like a sharpened blade resting inside your chest. You realize how much energy you used to spend fitting into places that didn't deserve you. How much strength you wasted explaining yourself to people who never listened. How much potential you buried under the weight of trying to belong. And for a moment, the world feels quiet. This is the turning point. Not dramatic, not emotional, just cold clarity settling into your bones. You understand now why the strong walk alone, because solitude doesn't weaken you. It recalibrates you. It strips away the noise. It removes the unnecessary. It reveals the self without distortion. You begin to notice the subtle difference between loneliness and elevation. Loneliness is the absence of people. Elevation is the absence of noise. You don't feel detached because you are broken. You feel detached because you are seeing too clearly. Your awareness has outgrown your environment. Your vision has outpaced your surroundings. Your discipline has risen above the collective impulse. But awareness comes with a price. You begin to see through people with uncomfortable accuracy. You understand their intentions before they act. You feel their inconsistency before they speak. And once you see someone's core, it becomes very difficult to pretend you don't. This is the moment Schopenhauer hinted at, when heightened consciousness becomes both weapon and burden. You don't fear the truth. You fear how much truth you can see. And that's where the collapse begins. Not of you, but of the world you once believed in. The moment you withdraw from the herd, the first truth you see is simple. Freedom isolates you faster than captivity ever could. People don't fear your silence. They fear what your silence reveals about them. The herd survives through shared illusions, shared fears, shared desires, shared distractions. But the strong, they step out of the pattern, and suddenly the world reacts. You're no longer predictable. You're no longer controllable. You're no longer one of them. And for a moment, the world feels quiet. Then comes the collapse. You notice how fragile people really are. Their confidence depends on crowds. Their identity depends on imitation. Their choices depend on approval. You see it clearly, painfully clearly. Most people are not acting. They are reacting. The will pushes them in circles, and they call it progress. They chase impulses and call it ambition. They follow noise and call it purpose. You don't rise above them by fighting them. You rise above them by not needing what they need. And once you see the machinery, you cannot pretend it's not there. This is the collapse, not of you, but of the illusions you once lived inside. You finally understand. You cannot stand with the herd without becoming part of its blindness. From the collapse comes clarity, cold, disciplined, unshakable. You realize strength is not force. Strength is refusal. Refusal to be moved without reason. Refusal to follow without awareness. Refusal to kneel to your own impulses. This is where the strong separate. You speak only when necessary. You engage only when intentional. You move only with purpose. And for a moment, the world feels quiet. This calm is not emotional. It's strategic. You don't distance yourself out of bitterness. You distance yourself out of precision. You protect your attention like territory. You protect your time like a weapon. You protect your mind like something priceless. Schopenhauer understood this when he said, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone." He wasn't praising loneliness. He was explaining self-ownership. You withdraw because distraction weakens you. You stand apart because conformity dilutes you. You detach because clarity needs space. This is the reversal. You stop following not to rebel, but because there's nothing left worth following. Solitude becomes structure. Awareness becomes strength. Detachment becomes freedom. And this clarity is the beginning of transformation. When you finally withdraw from the herd, something unexpected happens. You stop feeling pulled. The noise that once controlled your mood fades. The opinions that once shaped your decisions become irrelevant. The distractions that once drained your energy lose their grip. Your focus sharpens. Your emotions stabilize. Your direction becomes singular. And for a moment, the world feels quiet. This is what freedom actually feels like. Not excitement, not euphoria, but clarity without interference. You begin choosing your actions instead of reacting to impulses. You begin training your mind instead of feeding it noise. You begin valuing solitude not as escape, but as strategy. You detach from people, not because you dislike them, but because you refuse to be diluted by them. Your standards rise. Your tolerance shrinks. Your presence becomes heavier, cleaner, more controlled. You realize now, the strong don't follow, because following breaks their internal alignment. And a man who loses his center loses everything. Your silence becomes discipline. Your distance becomes strength. Your awareness becomes power. This is liberation, not given by the world, but earned by turning away from it. And only one step remains. Return to the beginning. Withdraw from the herd. The strong don't follow. Now you understand why. It's not a slogan. It's not rebellion. It's not superiority. It's survival. The herd is driven by noise. You are driven by intention. The herd is guided by impulse. You are guided by clarity. The herd seeks validation. You seek truth. And for a moment, the world feels quiet. The path you walk now is narrower, colder, more disciplined. But it is yours. No borrowed dreams. No inherited beliefs. No unconscious movement. Just presence, control, direction. You've stepped out of the cycle that governs most lives, and in doing so, you've stepped into something rarer. Self-ownership. You no longer need the herd to confirm who you are. You no longer collapse under noise. You no longer bend to expectation. Solitude no longer feels like absence. It feels like territory. And here's the final truth. Once you see the illusion clearly, it can never own you again. This is the strength the world cannot teach you. This is the clarity the herd cannot understand. This is the beginning of real freedom. Withdraw from the herd. Walk your own path. Because the strong don't follow. They simply rise.